Demultiplexing, what is that exactly? See, the packets when you are receiving again, the packets are coming to the incoming incoming frame. You know that other side it becoming a frame, and further it would be becomes as a bits in the physical layer. Bits, frames, packets, segments, data. The bits when travel to receiving end side, they were coming to the Ethernet driver and going upside is called incoming frame. Incoming frame could be either ARP packet or RARP. Sorry. ARP is nothing but address resolution protocol, where it would like to know about a MAC address by giving the IP address. So that it's only for using for that purpose. Otherwise, in the reverse, IP address with respect to the MAC address is RARP, reverse address RAP. Otherwise, it would be forward IP packet. Either three of them at the data link layer decides. If it is ARP, RAP at the data link layer itself, they will die it. If it is further IP is showing, it will go to IP layer. IP could be an ICMP packet, IGMP packet, where ICMP is when you are pinging and all between two networks, two different network schema, ICMP protocol, or even within the schema also, when you ping it, that uses ICMP protocol. It is only for, not for application, it is only for testing application. That application testing could be done through ICMP. And where IGMP is like an internet gateway management protocol, when you are routing the packets as much as number of subnets, number of groups, this IGMP protocol required. Otherwise, if it is application, either it could be a UDP or TCP. UDP is like an application like a streaming application like YouTube or DNS service. TCP is basically the real-time based application, so that delivering the perfectly the real-time communication and exchanging the whether delivery is happening or not could be done through TCP application. So demultiplexing always would be done in this way. Now we look about that how client server is communicates. So in client, if you are taking a response, maybe you may be using let us take an example as you are using web browser. You may want to access a website by using your browser. So it always sends a request to the web server. Before sending request to the web server, they should talk to each other whether the web server is available or not. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to understand that port is open or not, that they don't know. So that's what, first let them confirm that website is available or not in that remote web server. But as you know very well about, communication never happens on decimal note. So because what is that, if you are sending in a www.cdac.in accessing, that is not possible, because these computers cannot understand www.cdac.in, mighty.gov.in. They will only understand either through MAC address if they are peer devices, or otherwise IP address, where we also call logical address, which they require to, and they are also addressed by with those IP address, like in a pin code number of any post office 530001, 110001, like what ministry, all offices, CGO complex is established, so that you can easily go that pin number and letters you can forward it. So what happens? So because this won't understand by whatever the communication which I am doing, like a www.cdac.in, until it gets the IP, it cannot go, the request cannot go to the web server. So first of all is that first you need to find that what is exactly the IP address. So there is a database servers are exist across the globe in the name of DNS server. What is the DNS server? Domain naming system. That means you give a domain name, I'll tell you that related IP. If you ask what is the www.cdac.in IP address, I'll say that so 196.1.109.1 is the IP address. So if I want to do access, I need to get this IP address, the public IP address of CDAC or public IP address of your organization. So then I'll do, even though I'm requesting www.cdac.in, by the time it is not uh, announced at this IP address, so it goes to the DNS server who has this address IP address. Well, what is the IP address of www.cdac.in? So that DNS responds with one IP address, and then once this communication is over, the client will do that. Client will send an ARP request, because ARP request is in some cases uh, this server could be in the part of my organization itself. So why should I go to the route? So that's what it would like to always know, that what is that ARP reply and get the reply. If it is part of that, it will send directly on second layer itself. There is no need of package down further layers. Then TCP three-way handshake happens. What is exactly TCP handshake? Anyway, we'll learn tomorrow three-way handshake, but I'll try to explain that also. A synchronization. There are flags in TCP. There are 6 flags to communicate devices among each other. They are there like synchronization packet. Synchronization packet always they use whenever the connection is initiated between the two systems. Let's say in this case, I got an IP address, I got a physical address. Now I've understood that the web server is on IP address. Then what exactly? It immediately sends a synchronization. 16 hours. A synchronization packet, whether the website is available at your side. That's what web server it would be sending. Then immediately web server will respond with acknowledgement with respect to SYN of that application, what that client has accessed. Yes, I am available. Then client will send another acknowledgement. Yes, I am accessing the website. So SYN, ACK-SYN, and ACK, these three handshakes are called three-way handshake. Then only they use push and other flags for data transfer. And again, HTTP request would be sent it based on that page is required. Then web page would be delivered. So accessing in a website, sending in a message in WhatsApp, doing any kind of thing in a cyber, you have to do this process. Either by the time you know IP address, because you are maintaining such a DNS query in your machine itself, there is no need to go to DNS query. Even though that address is not there in your local machine, definitely you can reach to DNS and get an IP address to access. But to access a page between you and your website, there should be the other process of knowing about whether you are also becoming a local or part of local or not. That can be easily checked through ARP request. Then SYN, ACK. These three handshakes would be established. Then only HTTP page will be forwarded to from the client, and it will be receiving the web page. All these things would be done in a fraction of second, so that you don't know these things are happening in the behind. Of course, today's practical or tomorrow morning practical is understanding such communication only. Okay, so but you understood how two systems will contact for anything. Even you take WhatsApp also. Even you take any kind of application which required the remote machine to interact. This three-way handshake is legitimate action. If this is not happen, sometimes it can be considered. It can be considered as a non-legitimate, and sometimes it is called as maybe as an attack also. So hope you understood this how client server communication.